Hola, muy buenas. Esta semana entrevisto a un asistente personal de George Martin, de las personas del mundo más cercanas a Martin, seguramente la mayor después de su esposa Parris. Es Raya Golden, autora de este libro, Voyaging, todavía no disponible en España, y de este libro, que sí lo podéis leer en español, Puerto, Estelar. En ambos casos, una historia original de George Martin que ella ha creado y adaptado a cómic. Me parece un tema brutal, así que ¡vamos con ello! En primer lugar, muchas gracias por ver el vídeo, muchas gracias por darle me gusta en el vídeo, muchas gracias por compartir el vídeo y muchas gracias por suscribiros al canal. Son especiales a los nuevos suscriptores y en este vídeo tengo que hacer lo primero unos avisos claros, ¿vale? Este vídeo que he grabado con Raya creo que es un material muy bueno, pero ha habido algunos problemas en la edición de sonido, entonces he salvado lo que he podido. He editado muchísimo, he estado muchas horas subtitulando, intentando arreglar el audio con ayuda de mi ayuda y bueno, con mi trabajo y la ayuda de gente de fuera. Pero el audio aún así no es de la máxima calidad posible. Yo reconozco que no es el audio no es el vídeo que he grabado con la mejor calidad posible, pero he hecho lo que he podido y creo que el vídeo aún así es bastante comprensible. He cortado muchos minutos en que no se escuchaba. Si veis alguna transición es porque no se escuchaba demasiado bien esa parte del audio, pero creo que el resultado final es bastante bueno. Creo que tiene la calidad suficiente para ser compartido en un canal como este, para ser compartido en los 7 reinos. Eso lo primero. Y lo segundo, que en este vídeo hablamos de Voyaging, hablamos de este libro y no hablamos tanto de la faceta de Raya como asistente personal de George Martin y como el trabajo de Raya como directora de arte de George Martin. ¿Por qué? Porque yo entrevisté a Raya hace 2 años. Ya entrevisté a Raya hace 2 años, hablando de Puerto, Estelar, hablando de este libro, sorteé un libro gracias a Penguin Random House España. Entonces, lo que me parecía que no tenía mucho sentido es que 2 años después volviera a preguntarle a Raya, Raya, ¿cómo es trabajar todos los días con George Martin? Raya, ¿cómo es la directora de arte de George Martin? Raya, ¿tú eres quien le dice a un artista que Aria es zurda? Raya, ¿tú eres quien le dice a un ilustrador que las alas de este dragón tienen que ser de una forma y no de otra? Eso ya lo hice hace 2 años. Me parece que haría una mala labor como comunicador, como divulgador, si le hiciera la misma pregunta, las mismas preguntas a la misma persona, las mismas preguntas que le hice hace 2 años. Así que en este vídeo no hablo tanto de la faceta de Raya como directora de arte de George Martin y como asistente de George Martin, sino que hablo más de Voyaging, de su nuevo libro que evidentemente he escrito con absoluta y evidente colaboración de George Martin. Este año George Martin solo publica un libro y es Voyaging, escrito evidentemente a partir de su guión, pero guionizado, adaptado y hecho el arte por parte de Raya Golden. Eso es lo primero que quería explicar, que creo que es muy importante el contexto para que entendáis todos muy bien este vídeo y por qué no es un vídeo como otros vídeos del canal o como el vídeo que grabé hace 2 años con Raya. Y a partir de ahí, el resto de avisos que quiero hacer, bueno, lo primero, estuve la semana pasada en la premiere de Loki, creo que he subido ya alguna imagen, si no la compartiré. Estoy también invitado a la premiere de 30 monedas, invitado por HBO, aunque hasta ahora no puedo saber 100% si voy a poder ir, porque tengo una serie de temas personales, pero bueno, que también me ha invitado a HBO a la premiere de 30 monedas, así que por supuesto agradezco a todas las empresas que quieren hacer cosas conmigo. Amazon Prime Video, ya sabéis que he estado colaborando con ellos con la Rueda del Tiempo, creo que además el resultado de la segunda temporada de la Rueda del Tiempo ha sido muy bueno. Creo que hay bastante unanimidad en que la segunda temporada de Rueda del Tiempo es bastante mejor que la primera. Y como, pues hombre, no diré que soy un experto en absoluto porque ni siquiera me he leído todos los libros de la saga, pero como he leído bastante la Rueda del Tiempo y he podido entrevistar a productores, diseñadores, responsables de vestuario, de maquillaje, de efectos especiales, efectos visuales de la serie, pues los amigos de Fase 24, con quienes he grabado ya varias veces y que aquí tuvisteis a Jaime Mollino en el canal el mes pasado, voy a grabar con ellos hablando de la Rueda del Tiempo. Probablemente el podcast se publique la semana pasada y por supuesto os lo compartiré aquí. Y pues como os he estado contando antes, además como avisos propios del canal, bueno, para quienes podáis y queráis venir, este fin de semana estoy en Badajoz, en Extremadura, para hablar junto a Martin Simonson, que es sueco y es una referencia internacional de la saga. Hablando de la saga del Señor de los Anillos, en este caso, de la obra de Tolkien, para hablar de cómo Tolkien es el padre de la fantasía moderna, cómo Tolkien ha inspirado a George Martin, pero también a Rowling, a Star Wars, a Patrick Rothfuss, a Brandon Sanderson, a Nnedi Okorafor, a Aranzazu Serrano, a muchísimos artistas de fantasía, muchos escritores. Creo que es una charla bastante interesante. Probablemente se pueda subir en un futuro al canal de YouTube de la Sociedad Tolkien Española, pero bueno, ya os lo comentaré. También estaré este año en la Estelcon como cada año de la Sociedad Tolkien Española. Y lo último que quería decir es que, bueno, que el directo mensual del canal, pues será como suele ser habitual, el último martes de cada mes. Y el otro anuncio, que ya os lo sabéis todos, pero bueno, confirmaros que efectivamente ya he grabado con Estefan Sase y ya he grabado con Linda, y van a ser los vídeos de las próximas semanas. Con Estefan ha sido una hora hablar de teorías de Canción de Hielo y Fuego y del pasado de Poniente y del futuro de Canción del Fuego, y ha sido increíble. Y luego la charla con Linda, que duró casi 1 hora y media, y que es una obra de arte, que quizás sea el mejor contenido que he hecho nunca en mi canal, y que ya digo, pues como dije, iba a ser el cierre épico al mes de octubre para celebrar el aniversario del lanzamiento de Rise of the Dragon, como ya sabéis ha sido escrito por George R.R., mismo autor de Voyaging, y en este caso Linda. Y no me enrollo más, pero creo que en este vídeo tenía que hacer una serie de avisos previos, porque además en los vídeos de la semana que viene y la siguiente probablemente no haya ningún tipo de aviso. Y por fin mi charla con Raya Golden, autora junto a George R.R. del único libro de George que sale este año.
So this is my new thing. It's very exciting. It's a story that I've always loved of George's. It is called, in my version, Voyaging. And it's a collection of his short stories. Anybody who's familiar with George's short stories and sees me dressed up like this and maybe with one of my space cats will know exactly who this character is. But I kind of want to keep it. I want to keep it on the DL and encourage people not to read up on him and just to enjoy the comic. So it's called Voyaging, Volume 1, The Plague Star. Dun, 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 dun. Da, da, da.
Love it.
Well, in this case, because I'm the adapter, I adapted George's original story, wrote it all out, and did just about all of the, I did all the inks, and I hired someone to do the base colors for me. His name's Evan Evans. Very cool. Helped me out a lot. And then I did kind of the last layer and touch up of the color so it all matched together. So when I present myself as the author of this book. You know, I'm trying to get my style out there. And I have worked with George for a long time. I've been his art director for almost 10 years. No, actually, oh shit, it's been 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, I've always loved this story. It took a while for him to trust me with it. And yeah, I'm just stoked as punch to get it out there. Love the characters. I love the sci-fi-ness of it. I've always been a sci-fi freak. This is why, I started with George, and he was like, I know you're a comic book artist and you're working with me as my art director, so I want you to pick out one of my stories and we can try to get a comic going. And I read through all of Dream's songs, and this was the set of stories that I liked the most. But I guess it was tied up somewhere in Polish rights or here or there. We couldn't afford to buy them back at the time, and so I was just really patient. And when I had a moment, I finally, after Starport, he was encouraging me to do another Starport. But honest, I think Starport's got bigger things in motion, and maybe another comic book wasn't the direction. We didn't quite agree on how the direction was going, and it can have like a different feel. Whereas this story, man, we both agree about how this story should be presented, and and we're both very passionate about the character. Well, and we're talking about TV stuff as a distant future thing. We're really concentrating on just getting the story out there. And what I do love about it, and the reasons I've always liked it, is, like you said, it's an open-ended story. Even though this first one is a little bit of a surprise, after that, I'm going to lean hard into the character who wins this one, as it were. And we want to develop new stories, like between me and George, where he's feeding me the ideas and I can help write out new comics, which, of course, if people are interested and buy them and say nice things, we'll continue to make them. So yeah, that's what I like the most about this story. I think even Starport, like, there was less of a warm up, so it's too easy to branch off in the direction. Whereas this one, he's got 9 stories. And it's open-ended, so I can add stories in at different times. I can add stories in later. I can pull like many more volumes out of this character and still very much do the original text justice. Yeah, I call it what somebody said this before, that it's a dark meditation on humanity's future, and I've always loved that description. It's just like a meditation on what could happen, and we're talking thousands of years in the future. And I did make up a little, where's my little thingy? I made up a little pamphlet that has like all of our characters on the background. Yeah, so we can like see, you'll place bets on who's gonna make it, and then the interior is all the other stories set in the Thousand Worlds. Yeah, including Meat House Man. So Meat House Man is actually in the same universe as Voyaging, but Voyaging is much later on. Meat House Man deals with a specific set of planets called the Corpse Handler planets. Surprise. And there's 3 short stories that go along with that. It's a really another fun, rousing sci-fi. 3 Corpse Handler stories, yeah. And Meat House Man was the one that, like the first one was Nobody Leaves New Pittsburgh, and that one was like more of an introduction to the concept. And then Meat House Man is the middle one, which has more juicy of a story, really, and kind of more hardcore. And then the last one is called Hijack, I want to say, where it's about a corpse handler who's down on a planet, and someone hijacks all of his corpses, and it comes and start to attack him. Yeah. So there's 3 stories in that area, but New Pittsburgh, Scracky, and the other planet that they take place on are all part of the Thousand Worlds, which is where Voyaging takes place. And yeah. So it's cool to have so much background. But this set of stories kind of takes place at the end of the Thousand Worlds time frame, so I feel like it's got more potential. That's the funnest and the longest of the stories. It was actually written as a prequel to the first one, which is called The Beasts of Norn. Yeah, so but I always, part of the reason that I want to call it Voyaging is so because everybody who knew the stories before knew what was going on. And this is sort of like it's a great intro to people who have no idea. Yeah, it's nice. It's cute. We love it.
No.
Also is going to be, like the next project, which we'll probably hopefully talk about later, is of course going to be volume 2. And like I said, I want to do more volumes. And the color, like someone said that my coloring is like, let me see if I can find the quote. It's fucking hilarious. The art style is like an acid trip through the 80s science fiction, which feels just right. And I love that. But it's a great compliment. But this candy gore feel and even this like retro crazy space girl thing isn't going to be in the next volume. The next volume is going to have a different tone. We're going to keep challenging like the perspective. But this one is the most fun. Like I call it candy gore. It's just like gross, heads exploding, and we love it. Cast of characters. Most of the other stories are like our hero in talks with one or two people who represent a planet. So this one has an actual cast of characters, and like I said, I love the idea of, because when I first read this set of stories, I read it in the book that you have. That's the original translation, and it kind of gives away who the good guy is. And so I'm like, if I do this, I'm going to take that name off. What is this about? I've got a great blurb from the back of my book. Journey across the cosmos in the beloved George R.R. Martin's beloved sci-fi universe, The Thousand Worlds, as a ragtag group of conspirators embark on a mysterious mission to gain unfathomable fame and fortune, if only they can survive. So, like, I've already kind of given in that, like, not this whole great cast of characters are going to live. And like, I like playing on that. There's some fun aspects the way he wrote it, where, I mean, you're supposed to be like, how is it that this is the person that gets it? How is this that this happens? And I want to really lean into that. So that's how I like to present it, is like this kooky, we know that it's about cats in space. That's been my hashtag, cats in space. Anybody who knows these stories, here's the title and cats in space will know who I'm talking about and will just be like, yay. So yeah, I was trying to like lean into that, have maybe almost like a red wedding moment where the people who like it can show it to people, you know, and see the surprise for themselves.
The main character wasn't beautiful and space.
Who says the main character has to be on the front page? And like with a lot of George's stories, Starport in particular, I felt like didn't have a main character. All the characters were important for each other's timeline. I mean, you could present Charlie as the main character, but as I pointed out in our other interview, people tend to buy a cover with a hot redhead on it more than just some guy named Charlie.
Everybody.
Yeah, so that's why I made that particular choice. I mean, honestly, the only thing that I really changed were some of the aesthetics. I changed some of the races of the characters, some of their sexual orientation as far as presented to the public, just to kind of modern it up and give it a little bit more. We're in the future. And the main changes from the text that I did were visual choices. Like there's a lot of text where in the story we're describing what's happening to the person in the room as a narrative aspect. And I changed those instead of just doing like squares, captions that are exacted. Instead of doing that, I made them inner dialogue. So it's the people talking about the situation and the screens and stuff showing what the text was. So you get the same feeling, the same data, but it's laid out like visually. Have you seen Voyaging yet?
Yeah.
The actual comic, have you seen it?
No. I have seen.
Look how colorful. Let me find you a good one. Like I said, I described the style of the color in this one as candy gore. It's very bright. It's very saturated. But it still keeps, I mean, and I do, because it's me, I like putting a little bit of comic edge on things just because I like that. And I think in this story, it actually really works well. But it doesn't take away from the seriousness of the gore when we start getting into monsters, space monsters. There's space monsters. So yeah, no, that's one of the things that I really love about it. And yeah, I, much like you said, I definitely went with the saturated 80s, super kind of retro feel. Have translated really well, and I do plan on like giving a little bit more character base to like as things move on. And I mean, our main character is going to stay really true to George's vision, but there are ways to, I don't know, but you'll see just by the comic. Very beautiful monsters. You want me to tell you about? You want me to tell you about some of the monsters? I mean, it'll give some stuff away.
Maybe you can show one of them.
Okay, I'll show you one of the monsters. Let's see.
I love German.
Monsters are fun. Okay. We can show this monster if I can find his face. This is a really good page. If you can see really close, that there is called a flying Dracula. Yeah, and you can see he's got like a little kind of like slimy inner face thing that'll like just mess you right up. Yes, we love the monsters. And you know, there'll be more monsters. This one has just a few, and I want to keep some of the big ones a surprise, you know, but the hooded Dracula, that's what it's called, a hooded Dracula. There's also something called a roller ram, and there's something called hell kittens.
I love
Which of course, cats in space. I'm super into the hell kittens. So yes, we're excited about all the monsters. We're excited about the color. We're excited about. If you want, I can walk you a little bit through how I do an adaptation. We can make that the next question. Got my little setup over here. So this is the original text.
Yes,
and you can see I've got it on a stand with all these little notes on the side, right? So those are beats, what I call beats, where it's like, now we have to stop on this page because it's come to a conclusion, and the next page is going to be another action or beat. And so while I'm scripting, I have, if you look really close, I mark off lines and say, like, should be page 72 as I'm going through. And this is the fun part. Before I even write, I draw up on these pages full.
Wow.
Yeah, these are full thumbnails of what every page is going to look like. This is for the second volume, by the way. I've been working on that. So it's 2 pages across on each, and I've got notes saying, like, this is this person. They look shocked in this one. Close up, show eyes. It's stuff like that. So even though these are, to me, they're not very well drawn. Some people might think they're well drawn. Just in case, I write notes. So when I script it, I'm literally just sitting there writing, panel 1 is this happening, the cat's doing that, and then I go over here and then put in the dialogue as it makes sense. So it's a fun process and almost backward writing. And that's the most that I have to cut from George's dialogue, because as we know, he's a wordy fellow. He's got all the best words in the world. But there's this delicate balance in a graphic novel where I have to cut out, and again, like you said earlier, show what's happening instead of hear the dialogue. And especially if you can pace it right in that format where it's like panel, oh snap, and you end on a page like that, or you begin on a page like that, so it's like literally a page turner. When you turn the page, something amazing happens, and that's where all that beating comes in on the original text, where I read through the story initially and put all these notes in where I'm like, okay, we got to stop on that page. This is a cool action. And it helps me keep the pages to their proper minimum. Like, I can't just keep going. I have to be in the middle when I'm in the middle, and I have 100 pages to work from in each of them, etc. 285 pages for Starport, and that was a beast. I don't want to do that anymore, and it was also impossible to get the price point down to a place where it's not easy for people to buy. So Voyaging and all subsequent volumes are going to be set up to be like under 200 pages, shooting for 175 to 180 on each. The longest one, so that one is one whole story. And know that to save time and to get more exposure out to the character so we can do volumes faster, the other ones are going to be split up into 2 stories per volume. Right?
It makes sense.
And I'm not going to do both stories. I'm going to start tapping some of my amazing artistically talented friends and co-artists, and going to try to get other people to do this character with me. Where I do the art direction, I still do the scripting, but much like with the color, someone else is going to do inks and pencil. Be the art director, so don't worry too much.
Very good.
Thank you. That's the plan. And I'm not doing that because I don't believe in my own art. I'm doing it because I feel like it would give the character better openness, almost like a Spider-Man feel, where different artists are going to give it a different take. Kitty. And it means that I'm only going to be responsible for about 100 pages a year, and that's what I can do comfortably. I did this one 180 pages in 1 year, and it was a lot. And it took me 2-3 years to finish the almost 300-page one. So my goal is to get a volume out every year or every other year, which means I want to share the load and the coolness of this story with other artists. Everybody has their influences. Everybody has their stories that they take something from. I've always liked more of the independent comics, but definitely my earliest comic influences were ElfQuest with Wendy Pini, Sandman, Sam Keith, and The Watchmen. And I'm horrible, I forget his name, but those layouts, those artists And those writers too, like the way they pace stories, the way they element things. And I've always been a big fan of trying not to, I mean, you take little accents from other people who you admire, but try to cobble your own bit together. Yeah. And I've been really proud of that my whole life. People have been like, oh no, that's Raya's art, like for sure. Yes. Like I said, it's okay, so it's easier to do an adaptation thumbnail than it is to do a full page of finished art, for sure. Do I enjoy doing full pages of finished art from fruition to end? Of course I do. But I think that because I'm an artist and I do this weird thumbnail style, it actually will help other artists key into my writing even better. Because a lot of the time the problem, especially when literary people go into visual writing like comics or animation, they don't understand show not tell, and they want to be really wordy about things. And I know that I don't have that problem because I'm an artist, but because I have really high standards of writers and stuff, I know a good dialogue when I hear it. So I'm hoping that in the future, like I said, part of the reason I want to work with other artists is to give myself a break and give them a break. Win-win, right?
It's impossible.
You burn yourself out doing that. I've seen it several times. I've almost done it to myself several times. People who can do that have organized their styles around it. They usually draw direct on a screen. Really talented, amazing artists that I, again, have worked with. Fiona Staples, I think, being one of them. She does all of her own shit, and she's fucking amazing. But her style is loose and not heavily colored, not like Candy Gore. It's all pastel mutes, very easy to gradient through, and her line work and figures are so strong that you don't need a lot more color than that. But I'm incapable of not being like every color in the universe in the panel. So I need someone else to help me.
No. You said it.
And I'm going to encourage that with my other artists too. When I start working with another artist on volume 2, Crossing Fingers, I want them to work. I'm going to be working with a colorist, and I want them to be working with a completely separate colorist, so we can have pages coming out like simultaneously from 4 people. I just feel like this is a better way to get quality work and not burn out anybody. Because like you said, it's true. Burnout is super common among especially comic book artists. No, like I was saying early, just like movies, they're no good unless it's a group event of talented people putting in time and effort. If it's one person, or God, like it happens, one person who thinks they're the one who's in charge of all this and only their talent matters, that's going to make a bad movie. That's going to make a bad film.
No.
Well, actually, everybody I've worked with on color has been massively talented, and I think I've burned them out. So I have to work in steps again this time. So keep it ear to the ground. If anybody wants to be a colorist, give me an email.
Really? You want a color artist?
What?
Really?
I'm looking at new flatters. Yeah.
Well, I will just. It will be published, so we'll look at this.
They just have to be real good. Voyaging. I am so focused on Voyaging. Like I said, I want Voyaging to happen. I'm already talking to another artist. I got the 2 stories picked out from the series. There are going to be 2 more George stories. And then my idea is that I want it to the next volume 3, to have 1 George story and 1 of my stories. I've got a couple of that I've been working on with him, throwing stuff at the board, his old ideas with like my stuff. So I'm going to present him with some scripts, and hopefully we can start adding some new text to this adaptation, which I think would be amazing. If we're lucky, probably the beginning of 2025, because I haven't gotten a contract yet, don't know what's happening. And a lot of it depends on how popular this one is. You know how it is with volumes. Nobody wants a second one unless everybody loves the first one. So it's like, tell everybody, tell your friends. And hoping for to shoot for a 2-volume deal this time and really get it so it's like if I reach my goals, it's the beginning or maybe mid like Comic-Con San Diego time, 2025, but have the next volume ready the next year.
Oh.
Because again, if other people are working on it, hey, I can get more stuff done, right?
Yeah.
So those are the real goals, is to get like a pace going where people only have to wait at like a year and a half for each volume. I know I finished it very early. I finished at the beginning of the year, but because of publication and how things are made, it takes almost as long as it takes for me to make it, to get it published and made and all. It's kind of like post-production, you know? And it just takes its time. And my people at 10 Speed have been amazing. Chloe and Caitlin are just the best, and they walk me through all of the, let me have my hands on the majority of it. So yeah, I'm just so proud with the final result. You'll get it. You'll love it. Tell me you love it. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you honestly think when you get it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Javi, you're the best. Yeah, thanks again, and tell all your friends.
I will do. Okay.
Bye-bye.